And we are live. Welcome to another episode of the MMK Show. Today we're going to be talking about how you can get your money back from Amazon. Yes, it's true. I mean, most of the times Amazon is taking money from us, but it is possible to get some money back from Amazon. Marg and Kevin, how are you guys doing?
We're very well.
Doing great, Megla. Yeah, busy as always.
Getting ready for our big trips that
Yeah,
are coming up.
Yes. Yeah. Lots to do. Yeah.
March is spinning around really quick, Megla, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It is. So, just a quick reminder, everyone, our first trip is coming up in March, India sourcing trip, March 13th to the 20th. And this is an all inclusive trip that includes everything on the trip, hotels. We visit a trade show, conference. We have dinners, networking, masterminds. We visit factories. We do a bit of cultural activities. Go to Taj Mahal, Bollywood night. It's a very 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 busy and packed trip, but you learn a lot, and it is really the best way to start sourcing from India if you're not already sourcing. Even if you are already sourcing from India, it's a great way to find new products, find new suppliers, connect with other like-minded Amazon e-commerce sellers. So, Kevin, what is your favorite part of the trip?
He's answering his phone.
Beg your pardon.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah,
you,
mine is going to the factories, as you know. I love the factories, and especially when we go to Moradabad. I really love to go out there. I mean, we've been out there possibly three times now, and really, it's sort of out there. It's it's a different kind of place, and culture to go out to Moradabad. But the factories are very interesting, and sort of wood, metal. But meeting all the owners and the designers, even watching what the artisans actually do in the factory. And what did we do with those boxes, mate? Like we did drop tests, didn't we?
Drop tests, yeah.
Actual drop test in the factory. It just sort of, and looking at the cartons, the shipping, everything. You can see things when you go into the factory. You can see things, and it sort of opens your mind to what how the whole process works. To Amazon, not just Amazon, but the e-commerce. And the other thing I like as well is meeting all the different people on the trip, because they're not just Amazon people. They're selling in lots of different. We even had retail people. We had Etsy people. And once all those people get together, and they're talking about this platform, that platform. I mean, the talking never stops.
It's very hard
to keep everyone under control on the bus when they're trying to tell them something. They're too interested in telling everybody what's going on with there. So it's really good, excellent.
Yeah, I think the best thing is just watching all the people learn to get together and network and share and get excited about products together. I think a lot of it is just seeing how people just come out of themselves.
Well, people just freely, freely share information. Once you buddy up with those people, and you start networking, it's amazing what you can learn.
Absolutely. And also all of the invited experts that we have on the trip. We've got people that have been selling on Amazon for so many years. We've got Steven Selikov that he's been developing products since 2005. So huge, experience he's got in product development and product differentiation. So it's absolutely a no-brainer if you are building a brand on Amazon and e-commerce, or even for retail. There's actually no better way than to develop new products and to go to the source, whether you're sourcing from China or India, Vietnam, anywhere. Once you go there, it's just going to be it's going to change your business for forever. Oh, look who's here, Vinita. I'm missing you too, Kevin. It's a great trip with all lovely people. Oh, Vinita, we miss you too. All right.
So just one more thing, Meg. I was just going to say, and we always take a heap of superstars with us.
Yeah.
Sort of experts and superstars to sit and mingle with, and sort of work with them. Just yeah, it's like Megla said, like Stephen, Chris, like all the others to go along, the sort of experts, and we all can sit and sort of join in sort of masterminds, teams, and people just love the fact that they can share time with some of these experts over the
Absolutely.
8 or 10 days or whatever. So that's another bonus.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, where else can you spend 8 days with Steven Zelikoff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. All right, so let's get on with the show. I'm going to invite our guest today. So first of all, we've got Loree from Seller Investigators. Hi, Lee. How are you doing today?
Hi, how are you?
Hello, Lee. Good to see you again, mate.
Nice to see you, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, and we also have Danan from Carbon 6. Hi, Danan. How are you doing?
Good, Megla. How are you?
Doing
Good
great.
to see
Doing
you
great.
again.
Good to see you, Kevin and Mark, once again.
Yep.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
we're super excited about the show today because we're going to be talking about seller investigators and how you guys help Amazon sellers get their money back from Amazon. So first of all, let's do some introductions. So Lee, tell us about yourself, your background, and how did you end up with Seller Investigators?
Yeah, well, thanks very much for having me, number one. I am one of the founders of Seller Investigators. We started this business about 6 years ago. And actually in the fall, back in September, we were acquired by Carbon 6, which is why Danan and myself have different sort of titles. Carbon 6 is a software aggregator that has bought up a handful of different products, of which Seller Investigators is one of them. My business partner is based out just outside of New York City, and I'm based out in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're truly a virtual business. We've got employees and people that work for us kind of all over the globe. So it's been an amazing ride and really fun, and I'm excited to talk to everybody about sort of how we might be able to help their Amazon business.
Awesome. Danan, tell us about yourself.
Sure. I got started selling on Amazon in 2010 with my wife. We're a husband-wife team. Have been ever since. We've been doing supplements, and we've gone into all manner of different categories, but we've always stuck with supplements. And as far as how I got into Carbon 6, I beta tested Manage My Stats, and then about four years ago, I went and I just started working there. I went to the CEO at the time and I said, "Congratulations, I'm coming to work for you." And he said, "Why the hell would I hire you?" And I said, "Well, don't you worry about that. I'm bored." And so that I made my way up, kind of ping-ponged around the organization a little bit and settled on strategic partnerships. And around I'd say about a year ago, I met everybody, the CEO and the executive strata of Carbon 6, and they said, "Hey, why don't we do this thing?" I was like, "Awesome, let's do it." So the acquisition went through a couple months after I moved over to Carbon 6, and so now Managed by Stats, like Seller Investigators, is a part of Carbon 6, and I am strategic partnerships for Carbon 6.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So Lee, first of all, give us an overview of Seller Investigators. What does it do? Just tell us at a very high level how it helps.
Sure, of course. And we can go as deep or as narrow kind of as everybody would like, but essentially what happens is when you sell into Amazon and are an FBA seller, which sometimes is called 3P selling, it doesn't matter where you are in the globe, you are drop shipping volume of product into the warehouse. And as a result of that relationship, that product, while it resides in the warehouse or sits in the warehouse, Amazon doesn't actually take delivery of that product. You get paid according to when they sell it. So if they sell 3 pieces in a 2-week period, they pay you according to how many pieces actually went out the door. So technically that inventory sits on your books. And that's a huge advantage to Amazon because they aren't carrying that inventory, you are. And that's spread across millions of sellers across the globe. And so it's a significant advantage to Amazon. But what happens is because they don't own that inventory, they are, and I think Amazon genuinely tries to do the best that they can. I do believe that. But there's so much volume coming into every warehouse. It doesn't matter, again, wherever you are in the world, there's just a lot of volume into every warehouse because you think every seller is trying to maximize their business. As a result of that, Amazon oftentimes miscounts your inventory when it lands at the warehouse. The reason they do that is because they weigh and measure your boxes, your large boxes that are shipped in bulk. They have your weight and dimension of a particular ASIN or SKU or whatever somebody wants to call it. They know what's in the box by scanning the label. Then they look at it and they say, okay, we have a dimensional weight and size of X. And if that then is determined on the outside dimensions of the box or the weight of the box to, say 47 pieces, instead of the 50 that you shipped in, Amazon will credit you for 47 pieces. We step in and fill that gap with the 47 to the 50 as an example of where we live in your inventory. If you were selling into traditional retail, there's a term for it, it's called shrinkage, where they just assume some amount of inventory is going to get stolen, lost, damaged, miscounted, something. Amazon doesn't allow for that in their terms of service with you as a seller, but about 1% of your net sales, and this is across the board, doesn't matter what your store is, 1% is a fair number of your top line sales end up being disputable because Amazon is not counting your inventory or taking care of it properly. It gets run over by a forklift, gets stolen, any number of reasons why your inventory is no longer sellable. And we step in and try and fill that void to make sure that you're getting every dollar back that you're entitled to from your relationship with Amazon.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So also when you say that, Lee, is there other things that they might reimburse me for? Like I know they might lose the stock, but is there other ways that you can get a reimbursement that we don't know about? Because I mean, I sit here and I go, how do I know whether it's missing or it's been squashed or it's been stolen? So how can you help that?
Yeah, you don't need to know what's happened. We tie into the API, which an API is the output that comes out of Amazon that you are entitled to tie into. Anytime you log on to your Seller Central account, essentially you're looking into the API of Amazon. And when you sign up for our service, you give us a couple of points of access that relates to a couple of sales and inventory management reports, basically. We ingest those reports onto our platform. We run them against an algorithm, and we determine where there are problems. So, Margaret, you don't need to know where there are problems in your store. You just need to grant us access into these reports, and our systems will manage that. We do that via computer, and then from that point forward, there are some rules around this space. You need to do it peer-to-peer when you submit tickets into Amazon, things like that. And we're well-versed in all of those conversations. And so once we do the algorithmic work, looking at your store and determining where there are problems, it then goes to an operator, a case manager on our staff. That case manager reviews your cases and makes sure there aren't duplicates or things that are, let's say, for example, you were supposed to ship in a PO for 50 units, and what's today, like the 19th? I don't even know what the date today 17th. Is, but maybe it's the 17th. And so, sorry, whirlwind days. So the 17th, but you also had a 50-unit case pack that you were supposed to ship in on the 10th that you may not have ever shipped in. Our system is typically smart enough to catch that because we don't want to submit a ticket that you never shipped in. But sometimes Amazon loses entire shipments. So it can be complex, it can be simple, but these are all cases that kind of total up. Like I said, at 1% of net sales, if you're doing $1 million in turnover on Amazon, you can expect to get anywhere from $8,500 to $10,000 or $11,000 back into your store. And we have hundreds, thousands of cases of clients and hundreds of thousands of cases we filed that prove those numbers. They pretty much stand up.
No, and that's a big chunk of your profit, really, isn't it? It's just money down the drain if you don't recover it.
I was actually just going to mention that is essentially pure profit.
Yeah, I mean, we see that. So on an average store, and every store is a little different. It used to be people wanted to have 40 and 50% margins on Amazon. Those days are over. Look at Dana raises his hand.
I used to have 63%.
There you go. But it's gotten the platform's gotten considerably more competitive, more complex. more difficult to navigate, and margins have gotten compressed as a result of that. And so, on average, a store now that's doing pretty well is probably running 20% margins. And if we get back 1% of net sales, it's essentially 5 points of EBITDA, or earnings or profit. And there are very few things you can do to an Amazon store that require less effort than signing up for our service that get as much yield back for your profit. I mean, there are things you can do to maximize different, things here and there that can certainly make margin difference in your business. But I think doing this refund is you should be doing something. If you're not working with us, you should have someone doing this. Doing it in-house, typically we see people get about 50 cents on the dollar to what they're entitled to. And that's because they're not tied into the API. It's just very hard to see all of the issues unless you have somebody that has built an algorithm and an API tie-in. I highly recommend it. And again, if you're not going to work with us, go work with somebody else. There are a few competitors. I would like to say I don't recommend them, but I'd rather you work with them than not be getting this money back, because this is something that affects every seller on the platform.
So Lee, can you give us some of the benefits that seller investigators can give us, versus other similar tools that are in the marketplace at the moment?
Sure. I mean, recognize that, I'm at my heart a salesman. So, it's in my best interest to make people feel like we have a good service. So I take that with a grain of salt. But I do believe that we have a dashboard that some of our competitors don't always want you to see exactly how the sausage is made, if that's a term that will translate outside the United States. But people don't want to see how you actually do the machinations of your business. And we believe in showing you everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we're not always 100% successful. And when we're not successful, we think it's important that you see it. So, that's one point of differentiation, is we don't do anything behind the scenes. And I'm going to show you the dashboard in a few minutes when we get there. And I think that'll be pretty clear to people. The other thing that we really pride ourselves on, and this is like the dashboard, this has been a point of emphasis since day one in this business. We want to go after every dollar that you are entitled to. Some of our competitors, because of their labor rates, around their employees, find it unprofitable to go after every dollar that you're entitled to. So they go after the things that are, I won't say convenient, but that are not as difficult and complex and small to go after. We don't believe that's appropriate. We want to get every dollar back in your business. And if we have to lose a little bit of money getting small refunds, like a $5 refund, we're okay with that. That we think is part of the business. And we want to see that, because in aggregating that $5, if we find 100 of them, now you got $500. If we find 1,000 of them, it's $5,000. And that can be really impactful in a business. We get paid according to when we're successful. So our service is free to sign up. That's common in the industry. But we take a 25% service fee for our success. So once dollars have actually been physically returned back to your store, 100% of any dollar that you get back from Amazon based on our efforts flows straight into your Seller Central account at 100%. And then the access points that we have into the sales and inventory reports allow us to see where dollars have been returned to your store. We keep a credit card on file, and then every 2 weeks we run that card for our success fee. So essentially our platform is free until we have successes, and then we share in those successes. And we feel that's very important. That means everybody is rowing the boat in the same direction. We are 100% incentivized to get back every dollar for you because it benefits us. And, you don't have to worry about us sleeping and being lazy on the job, because we want to get every dollar back because it directly benefits our business. So we think that's a very good relationship between seller and seller investigators.
And I realized, sorry, go ahead, Marty.
No, okay. You go.
I realized that I am a partner of Lee's, but I have been using two separate services that are not seller investigators for multiple years. And from the moment that I signed up with seller investigators, they found money that the other services didn't find. And I do like the dashboard much better. Actually, the first service I signed up for, I don't even remember the name of. and they've never gotten me anything. So yeah.
Well, Danan, that's a great point. And I didn't say it a second ago, but Kevin, your question earlier about sort of things that differentiate us. Anybody can go after the $5,000 cases because those are fairly simple. They require documentation. We know what those look like. Everybody in the industry kind of knows what those look like. But when you've got to go dig in and find, we'll take an example that could be complex. A customer buys, let's say, some glass jars. Okay, they get those glass jars. They claim they're broken, so they call Amazon, or they reach out to Amazon by the chatting or whatever they're doing. They say, we want a replacement. So then they get a replacement set. So you as a seller are now out 2 units because the one came broken and the second one went out. Then the customer says, I want my money back. Okay. And Amazon immediately deducts that money out of your system, out of your Seller Central account. That's the relationship you have with Amazon. Now you're out 2 units and you haven't gotten paid. Now that customer has 30 days in which to return those products in order to not, in order to actually be issued the refund. After 30 days, Amazon is supposed to put that money back in your Seller Central account if the product is not returned. That doesn't always happen just because of the complexities of the business and things that are going on in the warehouse and whatnot. And so, we would find that in our efforts, and we would then go after that money, assuming the customer hadn't returned it. And we would end up in a situation where you would get your money back, at least for the inventory that was shipped out, not both, but one of them. So, you're better off. So the smally onesie twosie things that we pride ourselves on typically work out to be about 15 to 20% more money than we get than competitors get. So, if you do the math, and we're charging you 25%, and let's say in a universe, our competitors charging you 25%, if we get back an additional 20% more money for you, that's not our fee being 25%. That's 20% more money that you only would have paid 25% for. So you all of a sudden are now paying the equivalent of a fee of like 45 or 50% of the dollars that you were entitled to getting back. So it becomes really expensive if somebody is not out fighting for inches in your business as it relates to these refunds. You want somebody who is fighting for inches. It's the most efficient way to get the most bang for your buck.
Yeah, that's so like a no-brainer to me. Yeah, because
if I've got a big account, it's like Mark said, it's a no-brainer. I'd be stupid not to be using your service. Obviously there's money left on the table, and unless I've got a dedicated like you guys, that service, a dedicated working for me, I'm going to lose a lot of money, aren't I?
Yeah, don't think about it just as big, though. Obviously, big typically equals complex, typically means bigger problems, therefore more money to chase up for the client. And we have clients that are, $500 million plus in annual turnover, and we have clients that are, well under $100,000 a year. It doesn't really matter how big your store is. 1% or 5 points of EBITDA really matters to a store. It doesn't matter how big they are. Everybody has these problems, and we encourage people. We have a free audit. You can sign up for it. We're running a promo at India Sourcing at our Seller Investigators website. You can see it. It's scrolling through on the ticker kind of periodically on this call. But we encourage people to sign up. The audit is free. There's no obligation. We will show you how much money you're owed. And then if you want to move forward, you give us a credit card and we'll start chasing files. We'll start chasing cases for you. But the audit is free, and it just doesn't hurt you to have a sense for, what's going on in your store. If we don't find any money, it means you're doing a really good job in your store. That's not super common. But, you'd be thrilled to know that, you're doing a good job. And then you could have our store sit in the background and not find any errors, and it doesn't cost you anything. So it doesn't really hurt you to have it be on the platform regardless. But if we do find problems, you're going to be really glad. If somebody put thousands of dollars in your hand, that feels good. That means that your business is running more optimally. And that's what we're all trying to do on Amazon. Everybody is trying to optimize their store, regardless of size, regardless of how profitable it is. You're just trying to do the best you can in your store. And, we're trying to help people do that.
Awesome. So real quick about the offer, if you go to sellerinvestigators.com, use the code India Sourcing when you sign up, and that gives you a 20% rate. So their usual rate is 25% on the money that they get back for you from Amazon. But using this code, it's only 20% fee that you have to pay Seller Investigators. So that's a huge savings for you guys. So go to sellerinvestigators.com, use India Sourcing, sign up for an account. And it's totally free to sign up. You don't have to pay anything. Get the free audit, and then once you're happy with it, you can add your credit card onto it later. Okay, so we've got some questions from Tony. Let's take these questions. Do you guys also make Amazon case logs when fraud occurs if we get a different item back?
Good question.
That's a good question. That's out of our scope of work. That falls into a completely different category. We've looked at that, and certainly that is a problem on the platform, but that falls outside of what we do. Sorry, Tony. I wish I had better news for you, buddy.
Oh, here, you do have better news for him.
Refund, Jeannie, but I don't get much from there since one. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a good example, right? I mean, that's a competitor. Helium 10 certainly has a product. They have two sort of offerings at Helium 10. One of which is they will create sort of the case log, and then you submit the cases yourself. They charge you 10%, but then if you're not particularly good at filing the cases, which there is absolutely an expertise in filing the cases, if you only get 50 or 60 cents on the dollar back and we get 80 or 85%, then you're 10% for the quote report, and then all the time it takes to do it, you still get back on net. You end up getting less than we would have gotten, and you wouldn't have had the headache of having to do this. We try really hard to look at a business. We've priced this product, our service, I should say, it's not a product. Our service is priced in such a way, we want the seller to not be able to justify doing it themselves. We are doing this on scale to thousands of clients. As a result of that, we are able to create leverage in our processes that you can't possibly do yourself. And we price it according to that. You on a $1 million seller, if you get back $10,000, just to use my example earlier, and that's obviously a round number, but use 10,000 for purposes of an example. We're gonna charge you $2,000. You couldn't possibly do the amount of work it takes to get that $10,000 back for $2,000. It just doesn't work that way. It is way more work than that. And so you're better off. We believe that not only are we trying to get your money back, but we're trying to get your time back. We want you to focus on more important things in your business. Pay-per-click, making sure your box dimensions are as small and dimensionally weighted as humanly possible so that you can decrease your shipping costs, figuring out your inventory management, doing things like that increase your business in volume, rather than going after these dollars that are, kind of crying over spilt milk, if you'll allow me to use another euphemism from the United States. But we clean up the mess. We want you to be doing things on a go-forward basis that benefit your business, not clean it up.
Okay. Tony's also asking, how far does Amazon allow us to go back?
Great.
Wow, Tony, another great question.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Yeah. I feel like Tony's a pitch man for me. This is great. Amazon allows us to go back 9 months on lost and damaged. On missing inbound. Apologies. 9 months on missing inbound and 18 months on lost and damaged. So, and the missing inbound is about 40% of the business, and the remaining 60 comes from the missing and damaged. And like I said, 9 and 18 months according.
So Tony, get in the guys at the seller investigators.
I love it. I mean, listen, I think Tony needs to read our QA and just start answering questions for me. Everything is done, yeah, right? What happens is when we tie into the API of a local market, and we'll use India as an example based on this call, everything is going to be done in rupees. That is part of the tie-in to the API and why the complexity of adding marketplaces is difficult. The API tie-in is different and the currency calculation is different. but everything in India would be done in rupees. Everything in China would be in yuan. Everything in Australia would be in Australian dollars, and so forth down the line. We currently cover Australia, the United States, Mexico, Canada, UK, EU, India, and China are I believe that's 9 marketplaces that we service. And that constitutes.
I think you just anticipated and answered Tony's next question.
I hope so. I hope Tony's question is, yeah, let's see the next one, Tony.
Yeah.
No, this is Tony's next one.
Sure. That's a good question. That's another competitor. We talked about Helium-10. Gatita is absolutely a competitor. And they're a real business. They know what they're doing. I wouldn't fault anybody for working with them. We feel like we offer a better service, but we're competitors, and I'm sure they feel the same way about theirs. I would like to highlight, or I'd go back to our dashboard and our visibility and our transparency around the way our service is provided, as well as being able to go after the smallest of small items that may pop up on your platform. We feel like we have a competitive advantage not only on Gatita on that, but on every competitor that's in the category.
Without naming any names that were already named, they may or may not have been one of the services I've been using for about 3 years.
They're not bad guys at Gatita. We have a friendly working relationship. We do a lot of the trade shows together. We've had a long-standing relationship, and I'm just not going to say bad things. I think they offer a service that I think we're better, but I understand that they feel the same way, and sometimes the consumer needs to find their own path.
Thanks.
There you go, Tony. I love it, Tony.
Tony's switching.
Yeah.
Tony's sold.
There you go, Tony. Let's do it. You and me,
Tony's
let's
switching,
do this.
and he's hired.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome. All right, Lee. So why don't you start sharing screen now, and
Sure.
let's take a look at the dashboard.
Let me make sure this is going to do properly. So bear with me 1 second. I'm going to share this screen.
I'm just going to give a shout out to Steve here. Steve, yes, I've seen your message, and I will send you my email address.
Let's see here. Is this going to allow me to screen? It's not doing it again.
Share full screen.
Yeah, it's doing the same thing. Oh, wait, 1 second. Here we go. Sorry, apologies.
VNE key.
Yep, there we go. So now we're back to the screen. So this is our dashboard. Can everybody see the dashboard?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Let me see if I can.
Can you possibly make it bigger, Lee?
Say that again, Kevin.
Can you possibly make it any bigger or not?
Oh, hit command.
Can you zoom in?
Command plus a couple of times.
Command plus.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that bigger?
There you go. That's lovely. That's lovely.
All right.
Great, Lee. Thank you.
Hopefully, sure. I think that's going to work. I don't know how I'm going to get over. So hold on 1 second. And then I assume command minus. Is that okay, Tony? Can we work with that?
Or
Yeah,
Kevin.
needs to read that.
I'm sorry, Kevin. I apologize.
that's
Is that
fine.
okay, Kevin? Okay.
Yeah.
Apologies. So this is our dashboard. Say again?
I was going to say you
okay.
can call me anything you like, but just don't call me late for dinner.
So this is our dashboard, and this is a bit of a dummy account, although this business belonged to my business partner Robert. So this is where you would come, and this is the main page of the dashboard. And forgive me, I don't know if you can see my face while I'm doing this, or if you just see the screen, because I can't see it the way I've got this lined up. But I'm just going to kind of run through this. If anybody's got any questions, you'll have to speak up because I can't see the other screen. But this would be the dashboard. And can you see my cursor rolling over this? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And we can see your face too, by the way. So don't.
Oh, you
don't
can.
try
Okay.
anything
So,
funny.
and I'm sorry about you having to look at this mug. My wife says I have a face for radio. So, so this tells you that for this account, we've received $26,000, a little over $26,000 in total money that has been recovered. There's 0 pending cases because this business is no longer active, and there's 0 pending reimbursements. But this is done for sort of purposes of showing you how the platform works. If I scroll down here, This is going to be the platform since inception. So we've had this account on the platform since February of 2018. And you can see the green cases are cases that we were successful recovering. The red cases we were not successful filing. The red case that was unsuccessfully filed might be filed again and again and again. So that number will come down over time. But you can see in the first, call it month or so, back to our earlier question about how long, Tony asked how far back we can go. When we first get a partner on the platform or a client on the platform, this is typically how the chart looks. They get a substantial amount of money relative to their store in the very first kind of 30 to 45 days. And then it goes into a bit of a maintenance category. And if there's seasonality in your business, you'll see sort of an uptick a couple months after that seasonality. But that just kind of gives you a sense in a graphic form of what a case looks like. If I go in here, I can see actual case logs. Now, these are going to be old because, remind you, we haven't filed cases in here for a little bit. But each one of these is hyperlinked back into Amazon. So you can sort this on all cases, successful cases, resolved, unsuccessful, and pending. Those all are pretty self-explanatory. And then within the category, you can see, like, if you wanted to see this Amazon case ID, if this was successful, let's roll down to maybe one that was not successful. Here was one that was resolved. We can come in here. Oh, that's going to make me log back in. Let's not do that. Let's see here. Is it going to do the same thing? I'm not logged in here, so forgive me. If I were logged in, and I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to go through the process here, so forgive me. But this would show you all of these hot links would take you back into your Seller Central account, and you can see all of the details about what's happened in a particular case. You can see when we had success. Let's say that we want to see the unsuccessful cases here. They would pop up. Again, nobody wants to see the warts in a business, but this shows you this happens. These are cases that we filed that we were unsuccessful getting back. Here's where we would ask you, when you have missing inbound cases, which we talked about were about 40% of the business, those inbound cases require documentation, bill of lading, invoices, any number of ways to prove that what you say shipped in actually shipped in. This is where you would upload that. You can upload it, you can email it to us, you can do a variety of different things, but this is the depository for you to dump documentation when it's requested. A case manager from our side will reach out to you if we need things from you. When you sign up, we ask that, the email that you sign up with, you make it somebody who is going to be responsive to our needs, specifically around documentation. That's really the only time you should have to be involved in this process. Outside of that, we try to take over the totality of managing this. This is the next thing I want to talk about, and I haven't brought this up yet at all, and I want to make sure we go over this. This next thing is called the FBA fee calculator. And within that, we have a weights and dimensions tool. And I'm going to show you this here. This is a feed from Amazon. So if you were selling these ASINs, and this automatically populates based on your store, it's going to pull in the weight, dimension, the actual length, the length, width, and height, and the weight of your individual ASIN or product. Amazon mixes these up a lot, and it's super important for people to understand. When Amazon weighs your inventory when it comes into their warehouses, they use these dimensional weights that they have on their platform. If these are incorrect and you are not disputing them, Amazon is going to shortchange your inventory virtually every time you ship it into their warehouse. They can change this on a variety of different ways. One could be if you don't own an ASIN and somebody ships in, changes the packaging on the same ASIN. Amazon will by default always go to the largest person in the category. Whether yours is that way or not is immaterial. They will change it up and change it. When you put in, what you have is you have the ability over here to edit dimensions, okay? You would go in and add what dimensions you know or you think your product is. You can also upload, if you have this in a CSV file or an Excel file or some other form, If you want to upload it to us, we can do it for you based on the ASIN, and our team will do that for you. Or you can go in and do this. We recommend you do this so that we will alert you whenever Amazon changes your weights. Right now, you technically can go back 90 days and dispute these dollars around your weights and dimensions. We find it's very hard to call that money back, but Amazon will go in and do a bin count and fix the problem. So whenever they change it, it almost is immediate that we see that. We trigger an email. You then file a case. We show you how to file a case. It's pretty easy. And then that almost immediately stops the bleeding and then puts it back into the correct weights and dimension based on what you said after they go into a bin count. So instead of it running in the background and maybe say charging you an additional $1.50 a unit for a month or two, which then constitutes thousands of dollars in loss, you might only lose $10 or $15. So I can't stress enough how important using this tool is on our platform. And this is unique to our business. This is something that doesn't exist with our competitors. And in a way, having that weights and dimension tool, if you go in and correct your weights and dimensions, 40% of our business is going to be less effective, i.e., you're going to correct a lot of the problems on the inbound shipments yourself because you're going to then be having the correct weights and dimensions. Amazon is less likely to miscount your inventory. The overall business that is seller investigators will ultimately find fewer dollars to go after. But I mentioned earlier, our emphasis is in trying to help you run an efficient business. And if we do that, we think that long term, you'll stay on as a client because you know we have your best interest in mind.
I'm sold.
Yep.
Where's Tony? Where's Tony?
Where's Tony?
Where's Tony?
He's gonna sign up.
That's right.
So
Actually, sorry to
Yeah.
barge in. So I know that the question is going to arise. How does somebody switch, Lee?
Sure. So if you're doing this in-house, you can just sign up at sellerinvestigators.com. You remember to use the promo code because we're going to go from 25% to 20% for everybody who's on this, watching this video. And if you are working with a competitor, what we would recommend, and even if you're not even sure you want to use us, that's okay too. You can absolutely dark horse us. We don't mind. You may sign up for our service with no intention of using us. Let us run the audit, and if we find money, we have a conversation. If we don't, then stick with what you're doing. But the free audit, you don't need to do anything. So you sign up for our service. You can do it behind your service. You don't change it. I wouldn't recommend unwinding it. Just see what happens with our service. So you sign up. If you like what you see, you put in a credit card, and at that point, we would recommend that you discontinue the service with our competitor. And the reason you want to do that is you don't want two companies in filing cases at the same time, because you can create some overlap, and then Amazon doesn't want you filing cases in duplicate. That looks to them as fraudulent, which would be something we absolutely don't want to do. So we recommend not having two companies in your account at any given time, unless you create stipulations where one does something for 3 months and then the other one waits. That can get pretty complicated. It's really not necessary for most accounts. We recommend run a free audit. And for that matter, if you're on our platform, go find a competitor and run an audit and see what happens, because, we should be audited too. You should be thinking about your business, not mine, when it comes to what's best for your business. And, use us. Figure out if we can find you money. Figure out if your current platform or whatever service that you're using, or if you're doing it in-house, find out if you're doing a good job. And our service, our free sign-up will absolutely allow you to figure that out.
Can I tell a little story?
Please.
Yeah, go for it. Yes.
I've been in this industry for a fair amount of time, and when Carpet 6 acquired Seller Investigators, I was beyond excited. And so I went to a friend of mine. They do about $30 million a year on Amazon. Actually, it's the CEO of an agency that manages Amazon brands, and they had 4 in-house full-time staff for the CEO's brand, right? And we ran an audit on them. We found, I think it was like 60 something thousand, and then they put the credit card in, and then it's when we go full bore on doing the investigations. We actually found $94,000 for them on a brand that was already had 4 staff doing their clawbacks. So if you take the amount of time and money that gets put into those staff members doing that, and granted, this is a large example, right? But it just goes to show you what happens at scale. You take the resources of 4 full-time staff, and either you eliminate those business costs, or you redirect those efforts into other areas that help expand the business. Not only have we found significantly more money than they were able to, and eliminated the cost of those 4 staff, or repurposed those 4 staff, that you can compound how much more valuable it is to have a service like this. Yeah. So I just want to tell you, like, these are real numbers. Like, this is, I'm not going to tell you who it was, of course, but
yeah, I mean, I would echo that. I mean, I have dozens and dozens and dozens of examples, and Trustpilot reviews, and all of this is available on our website, where we have found, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars, some cases tens of thousands of dollars, behind competitors, behind companies that are doing it in-house. We find money. We are good at doing this, and we have a team that is dedicated to solving these problems. And all we ask is you to give us a chance. Let us show you what we do. We are willing to do it for free. We are willing to give you the audit. Danan highlighted sort of the way our audit works. The audit initially that we do for free is on the missing inbound stuff. Once you sign up with a credit card, we go full bore and we dig in, and that's where the minutia of your account comes. And that's where we really dig in and differentiate. So, you get your initial audit, and then you can expect to find more once we actually get in the account. So we kind of like to do that. I mean, I'm kind of giving away a little bit of our sales secret sauce, but we hit you with, you're going to get back $8,000, and then we end up getting back $9,500, and we kind of, we call that a win. But we do that because it's difficult for us to, in the initial audit, just because of the time involved to go through and figure out all those cases. We don't want to do that until you're committed to being on the platform. But we show you that we find you quite a bit of money, and then hopefully win your business, and then hopefully meet and exceed your expectations.
We got a question from Oksana. Yeah. At what point do you start working on reconciling inbound shipments?
Yeah, so some competitors front run things. So Amazon, on occasion, will correct some of these problems on inbound shipments themselves. Not a lot, but it does happen. So we create a lag from when we initially identify a problem. We wait a couple of weeks just to give Amazon an opportunity to maybe do the right thing. And I shouldn't say the right thing. That's not fair. That would imply Amazon's not doing the right thing. But to catch it within their system. And then after a couple of weeks, if they haven't caught it, we know from experience that that's not going to get caught. So then we start to file the cases. So it's a couple of weeks from when we first identify an issue. And then on missing, on lost and damaged and those types of things, that we do almost in real time because they don't catch that. They have no reconciliation process for that.
All right, awesome. Kevin, you were saying something?
No, I was just going to say, Lee, like you said before, it's very transparent, and I love the fact that it's you're so open, and it's free. Come and get an audit, and sort of give them a try. It can't be any fairer than that in my book. What do you think?
Yeah, we try really hard. I mean, we're a part of Carbon 6, which is not really a small business anymore. Yeah. They own 15 brands that do a variety of other things for your store. That maybe Danny can come on another time and have a conversation about some of these other services that you could use these dollars back to redeploy into some of the things Carbon 6 does. But ultimately, Seller Investigators is a small business. I'm one of the founders. There are 3 founders: our CTO and my partner Rob and I. Rob runs really the technical team, and I tend to run sales. We have a couple of onboarding specialists. If you come to our platform, you will get as much customer service as you want. Most people, after they get on the platform, don't really need much customer service because we make it where you really don't have to have your hand held. But to the extent that you have questions, or you're not sure, or you want to email us, you will get a human person that will respond to you, normally within the hour, sometimes within the day, but very rarely more than that. We pride ourselves. We want to be a partner in your business. We want you to feel like we care about you and we are looking out for your best interest. That is what we should be doing. We were looking after your stock or your inventory, and we're trying to get you money back. We're trying to make your business better, and we take that very seriously.
And these days, every dollar counts, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so this is that next question. Yeah. So when a shipment is closed, it's in the warehouse. We've determined that that shipment has an error in it. That's a couple weeks from once we determine that there is an error in that shipment. Correct.
Right. And Oksana is also asking, how are investigations done? Manually, using reports from Amazon?
Yeah, so I mentioned that briefly earlier, and I think it's a really important point, and I'm glad that we brought it up again because it is a point of differentiation. The industry, Amazon sets rules of the road that everyone must follow. If you're submitting it yourself, if you're submitting it via our team, if you're doing it, I don't know how you're doing it, by carrier pigeon, I don't care. At the end of the day, you have to submit cases manually 100% of the time, and if you don't, you run afoul of the terms of service with your seller central agreement. And that's a big problem, potentially a big problem for you.
Well,
So
and for the company too.
And for us too. And
yeah.
So we're not going to do that. So what happens is we ingest your data, we run it against our API, it gets spit out in a report, it goes in front of a case manager, and from that point forward, the case manager is in charge of that case log all the way through, communicating with Amazon, going back and forth with Amazon. A $5 charge tends to get solved very quickly. A $5,000 charge takes considerably longer with far more documentation. And so, we are in this for the long term, and we recognize that sometimes a case takes one try, sometimes it takes 6, but it's all part of the process.
Do customers have a designated investigator, or can it be different people working on cases?
This is amazing. I feel like I found another person I need to hire. So you will be assigned a case manager. We have a hierarchy within our team. So initially, you'd have sort of an entry level case manager that is being managed by a manager who is overseeing that work. And then if it needs to be escalated, i.e. a case is not making it through Amazon appropriately, we can file up, a certain number of cases per day. We can do different things to kind of move your process along. And, we spoke earlier about being able to go back 9 or 18 months. We would go back and start working the old cases first, just to make sure they don't roll off. Because once they roll off, if we haven't filed a case, you lose the right to go after that money. So we're super, we're cognizant, or we're paying attention to making sure that old cases don't roll off once you're on the platform. But once there, we start filing the cases. So you will have a dedicated team. It won't just be one investigator. Technically, you'd have like 3 that could be touching your account: the entry level person, the manager, and then the escalation team if necessary. And I mean, entry level person isn't the right phrase. The person who does the normal, our normal case manager, and then that case manager's manager, and then an escalator is really the better way to phrase it. I shouldn't have said an entry level person. That's not fair.
All right. So a reminder to everyone, go to sellerinvestigators.com, sign up, and don't forget to use the code India Sourcing to avail the special offer that we have. And the special offer is a discount on Seller Investigators fee. Usually they charge 25% as their fee, but if you use the code, it's only 20%, which is lowest in the industry, I also have to add. So
for the life of the account.
For the life of the account. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes.
That's important. That's a distinction, Dana. It's not a teaser rate for a year. It's not going to then migrate to 25%. You're on the platform for 20. You're on the platform for 20 for as long as you're on it.
Yep. I think that's another differentiator. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and I think anybody who has not using a service of any kind at the moment, it's just a no-brainer. I mean, you're just donating money to the Amazon slush fund.
I just can't employ people enough. I mean, please don't let Amazon run your store. You know, don't ignore this. This is a blind spot, and if you don't go after it, you will not get these dollars back. You need an advocate for you, whether it be me or somebody else. You need an advocate, and you know, please don't think you can ignore this problem. It's the easiest way to get back significant amounts of money back into your store.
Yep.
Do we get to sign a non-disclosure contract or something?
Yeah, so we typically don't sign contracts. We use best practices, so we're not doing anything with the data. We are, you know, we're keeping it on our platform, but we're not doing anything with it. We don't believe in contracts. If people want to sign things and they want us to sign NDAs, we certainly will. We have no problems doing that. We'd ask you to supply it because we don't want there to be any reason why you think we're trying to not be clean about the NDA or, you know, what have you. We don't sign contracts for one reason, and this is also another point of differentiation, but we want you to be able to leave. If you're not happy with the service and we're not winning your business, you should leave. And I say that because we have very little people, you know, very few people leave our platform, but we want you to have the option. We should have to work for your business every day. And, you know, the way we price it implies that we're doing that, but we don't sign contracts for that reason. We want you to be able to leave. Like I said, if you want it to be done and you want to produce an NDA, we'll sign it. And I'm sorry, I couldn't see that other question.
Yeah. I mean, how safe our accounts are with your service?
Very much so. We employ significant processes. Actually, we house the data on the AWS servers, which are the best of breed in the industry. So there's, you know, we've never had a data breach. We've never had a problem. We're an approved vendor on Amazon. So we get audited twice a year by Amazon. That includes things like how do we deal with data? How are we doing this? Are we using best practices? So the fact that we're audited by Amazon should give everybody a peace of mind. If you think about it, Amazon's not thrilled at what we do because this is a profit center to some degree by Amazon. You know, because if you don't get the money back, they're keeping it. And so we are somewhat adversarial in that sense within Amazon. But they recognize that we're necessary. You know, we're necessary because this is a service that has a lot of complexity around it, and the average seller, it's a little overwhelming. And so, you know, having a service like us levels the playing field. And I don't think Amazon is nefariously doing this to your account. I just think there's so much velocity going through Amazon that they can't be perfect. And this is their way of saying, you know, if we're not perfect, catch us on it, and, you know, we'll work with you to get it back to you.
But we don't like it, because we want to keep that money that we accidentally kept.
Yeah, they want to keep it, but, you know, yeah, they're not happy about giving it up. But I think they recognize that, you know, this is, and that's why I say it's not intentional. You know, that they recognize that they're a big business and they can't be perfect.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Dana and Lee, thank you so much for your time today. It was really awesome learning about seller investigators. I'm sure all of our audiences will benefit a lot from the service, and I've already seen quite a few people have signed up for the service as well. So everybody watching, once again, go to sellerinvestigators.com, use the code IndiaSourcing to get your exclusive offer. All right, Dana and Lee, anything else before we let you go?
No,
thanks for having us on.
Yeah, that's all I would say is thank you very much for taking the time to have us on the show. And for people watching, you know, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We've got agents on staff that can answer any questions you might have that might not have been answered here. And, you know, we would be honored that you would give us an opportunity to help you in your business.
Awesome.
Fantastic,
One last
guys.
question from Oksana.
Oh, there you go. Another question.
Sorry. Can we use your service for all investigations, but not for shipment reconciliation?
Absolutely. So we do have people that do that. This Oksana woman, she's got them all. This is great. She and Tony, I mean, this is great.
Yeah.
So what we would do in that scenario, we can either, our system is flexible. So if you said, don't do anything on inbound shipment, I manage that. If you want to do that, we can do that. We also can say, okay, I'm going to do this internally with my team. And so don't file any cases for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever you want to do. We can certainly do that as well. We don't mind working with you to make it fit appropriately into your business. Just recognize that every time you make something be one-off, it's a little more complex for us. And we do the best we can to always honor those agreements. And if you catch us where we weren't perfect, let us know and we'll work with you to make it right. Our goal is to work with you as a partner.
Awesome. All right, Kevin, Mark, are we good to wrap up? Anything else from you?
Thanks for your time today, guys. That was very good. Very
Absolutely.
interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of dollars out there to be had, and it's just sitting there waiting to be taken off of Jeff. And if you don't sort of do something like you say, Lee, you go and buy another house and another boat, or
Another rocket.
Yeah, probably a rocket.
I'd like to say thank you to Oksana for the questions, and the same for Tony. I thought those were all very good questions, and it's difficult for me in these calls to sort of hit on every topic that I want to. Sometimes I forget to add things. Sometimes it's just not enough time. Sometimes it just doesn't strike me as something to cover. And we were able to cover a lot of other topics that were on point that needed to be said. So I appreciate all the questions. They were great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And we'll be back next week with another MMK show. We're going to be talking to Gary about selling on Amazon Japan. So that should be a very interesting topic as well. All right,
Gary Huang?
everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, Gary Huang.
Awesome. I like that.
Thank you, everybody.
He's cool. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye,
See you
everyone.
around. Bye.
Bye.
Good to see you guys again.